Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interview with the Zine Quest 3 creator. Today, we will be talking to Reilly Qyote, who is the creator of a new zine called Castaway. Reilly, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you providing the opportunity to talk about my game.
Absolutely, that's not a problem. And again, thank you for rescheduling and things got a little crazy. And just thank you. I appreciate it for
Absolutely.
understanding.
This is
Uh,
a wild time for RPG creators.
yeah. So first things first, before we start talking about Castaway, why don't you just tell me a little bit about yourself and how
Right
you
on.
got into games and game creation and all that.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Reilly Qyote, and I have been playing role-playing games for probably 12 years now. I started with Mage back in high school, an old World of Darkness RPG, and from there I went into D&D 3.5. And I kind of grew out of it when I started working and started getting really heavy into music. But with the inclusion of so many more newcomers to the scene with 5e, I kind of jumped back into it with D&D and then started branching out into indie stuff. I think the first one that really caught my eye was Troika, then Morkborg and Mouse Ritter and all these other kind of like big names in the indie scene led me down this path to really strange zines and all kinds of really small publishing stuff. And I thought, you know what, I should get into that. We have all this time that we suddenly find ourselves with, and I really wanted to try my hand at creating something that kind of matched my own interests.
Yeah, that's noble. I appreciate that. Um, so tell me about. You said you started with Mage,
Mm-hmm.
and you stopped when you started working. That's kind of how it was for me. Is I kind of after about 15 or so, I started getting more interested in girls and hanging with my buddies on a weekend, and I didn't
Yep.
play again until quarantine, and I was like, I didn't realize there was a Call of Cthulhu RPG for many, many, many years, and I was like, oh crap, okay, now it's time to get back into that.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
so why don't you, for the creator, give us kind of the elevator pitch of what Castaway is?
Of course. Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to one of my good friends, Joe O'Brien, who helped me write this game. We actually came up with it a couple of months together. And so, first things first, thank you, Joe, for doing a lot of the writing work while I did layout and design.
Awesome.
That being said, the game is our way of translating the experience of finding yourself in the wilderness with no tools or really any know-how on how to survive and trying to come together to either be rescued or figure out a way out of this particular situation. The name Castaway comes from everyone's favorite Tom Hanks movie, where the very same thing happens. He finds himself stranded on an island and he has to figure out a way to find food and water and keep himself alive until he can be rescued. We wanted to translate something like that into an RPG for the tabletop.
Yeah, and I read what you sent me, and I was really surprised because reading the synopsis of it, and I'm like, okay, that's cool, but actually reading how the game is played and how the DM is basically the weather and whatever encounters there is,
Hmm.
it's really really cool, and it kind of I kind of liken it to like when I was growing up. One of my favorite books, like as a teenager, was Hatchet,
Yeah.
where and Brian's song and stuff like that, where he's stuck in the woods in the middle of winter or in the middle of the summer, and there's nothing around, and he has to fend for himself, and that's a lot of what it is. And obviously, Castaway. I started thinking about Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
The Revenant, and things
Hmm.
like that. And when I actually told some of the people in the Discord that there's this game that's coming out, be on the lookout for it, where you are basically a regular person and you need to survive in the wilderness. And the only way that you can win is if you find the outpost that has the people there or whatever the case may be. And
Right. Whatever win state the GM decides.
yeah, and I like it too because there's a lot of hope involved. And when it comes to
Right.
humans, hope can either save you or it can completely take you to the depths of what you ever thought that you could ever either accomplish or do. It'll make you do
It's
things you
true.
never thought you would do. And I like it as more as like a cathartic release, or even like a cautionary tale as to,
Yeah.
like, I've lived in the city my whole life. If there's a 10 by 10 section of trees, that's the woods for me. That's where Jason
Hmm.
lives, and I don't want to go in there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I,
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
it's funny you
I
say
think it's
that
going to be
too,
fun.
because um, really a big part of writing it the way that we wrote it was to try and promote a lot of role play in that space between actual survival tasks or techniques. If you know how to make a fire, that's one thing, but once the fire is made, what kind of things you find yourselves exploring within your own psyche, or within the relationships you have with these people that you might not know, and trying to navigate that space between each other, we just found really interesting when brought up against this survival aspect. And you brought up the GM, the navigator, playing the weather, playing the world, playing the animals. And that's something that is kind of a given in most other games, but they also have this uh, dimension to them where they have to play other NPCs. And personally, I'm not really that good at that. And remembering voices and remembering motivations and stuff is really tough for me to track. And so this was kind of my way to say, what am I really good at, and what can I do to kind of help others that are like me in describing the environments and creating threats and creating encounters that aren't necessarily built on a supporting cast. The cast is your players, and we wanted to really highlight that.
Yeah, I like it too. And so with Castaway, is it a low prep, or are you going to have to take some time to kind of figure some things out before gameplay?
So that's the thing about Castaway, I think, is it is pretty high prep, depending on how much you as a GM want to apply simulationism or realism. So we do provide a very bare bones scenario in the book. And what we provided is a list of threats, a list of potential places that you can find items and supplies, and different ways that, like, the weather can affect you, or that food supply can be affected. And then we kind of just let go of the reins at that point. And a big part, I think, of running it successfully is doing real world research. And that's something that I learned from one of my favorite solo games, Thousand Year Old Vampire, where in playing the game, you're kind of asked to explore history and explore things that you might not have understood at first. And a big part of running the game for me is learning a lot about, say, the Swiss Alps, if I'm going to set something there, or learning a lot about a desert island somewhere, and finding out about the creatures that live there and the plants that live there. And it's something that I find myself enjoying exploring.
Yeah, that's neat. And I was wondering, have you done any? I mean, I'm sure you've done play testing and things like that, but
Hmm.
have you thought of maybe potentially putting like a like an actual play, like video or something that shows what gameplay actually is?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So because we're all in the middle of this Zine Quest thing, a lot of our time is spent right now finishing up our scenario pack. So we're releasing 3 new scenarios for Castaway that are in completely different directions than the book. One of them is based on surviving a zombie apocalypse. Another is based on surviving an accident in space. So you're on the International Space Station and something goes wrong. And then the third is a more fantasy setting based on, like, old D&D, very simplified, where you find yourself trapped in a sort of biodome, a magical biodome that prevents your escape. And so we're trying to first and foremost let people know that this isn't just about real world simulationism, that these rules and kind of guidance that we lay out can be applied to any setting. And then from there, we're going to release a couple of actual plays. If we can get everybody together on time and record something, we would love to do that for
Yeah,
everyone to
that
see how it's played.
yeah, the toughest thing about anything, especially when you're an adult and you have responsibilities and all that stuff, is finding the time to actually sit down and play. But
Exactly.
you had me at being stranded on the space station and having to survive,
Hmm.
because I immediately think of there is absolutely no hope for you surviving. It's just
Exactly.
maintaining until you perish, essentially.
Yeah, and just hoping that somebody can repair communications and do something to provide some sort of food or some sort of avenue towards hope. You mentioned hope earlier, and that's a big part of the role playing aspect there. So I'm excited to see kind of once it releases what people think about it, and we're even going to be doing a scenario jam on Itch. So for anyone who'd like to contribute their own sort of settings or scenarios, it'd be a really great way to kind of see how people engage with it.
Awesome, awesome. That's really neat. It is it something, the scenario pack, is it something that is on in the works now, or are you thinking about releasing it as a possible stretch goal?
No, it is in the works now, and it's going to be available with the Kickstarter.
Oh,
And we
great.
do have a stretch goal. If we reach that stretch goal, then the scenario packs are going to be released for free for everybody who wants one as a PDF.
Awesome. That's a really cool
Hmm.
incentive. So I guess my next question to you is why Zine Quest? And why not, just any other day, or is there anything special to you about Zine Quest or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. The two major points of Zine Quest that I find really special is that one, we have a moment in time where everyone can come together and collaborate and work together. And in the past couple of years, seeing so many amazing, gorgeous projects come out from people who may or may not have ever been incentivized to create something or put something out like this is really inspiring. And there's been so many games in the last couple of years that you just see and immediately fall in love with, and that kind of captured, my interest where I wanted to challenge myself to see if I could inspire someone else. I'm a musician. I've never written anything before. And when it came time to design everything, the imposter syndrome just kind of settled in right away. And the energy that surrounds Zine Quest is so much of a do-it-yourself kind of energy that allows you to throw away that imposter syndrome and say, you know what, we can absolutely do something. And even if it looks grungy or it has a couple of typos, or even if it's not balanced, which obviously our game is not, um, it's okay because you made something and you put it out there. Yeah, so that's really the big things for me is this kind of community building aspect, and then the inspiration aspect of seeing how much cool stuff comes out of Zine Quest every year.
Yeah, I can definitely appreciate that, the rawness and the realness of the games that are produced, and and just the way, what I tell everybody is the way that I see these zines, because there's such a fluster right now, of course, before the launch of Zine Quest, of what is and what
Yeah.
isn't. Um, the way I see it is that it's a piece of art, and who
Hmm.
am I to say what it is and is not? Because I did not create it. And the least that I can do, if I want to support that art, is to help back the project. If it's something that I want
Definitely.
to, if it's something that I want to take in, I would love to back it. So, for instance, just don't go to a museum and steal a piece of art and put it on my wall. No, if I wanted to
Right.
do that, I would have to buy it to help the artist or whatever the case may be, and put it on the wall. Um,
Hmm.
you know, in today's society, money is the bartering tool, so to speak.
Right. Right.
So speaking of that, um, we know that backing doesn't mean buying,
Hmm.
but what kind of tiers do you have for your backers?
So we have a $1 tier for anyone who wants to support the project, inspired by Tony Vicinda, who created the $28 28 Days Challenge. So we are offering a PDF of Castaway, complete with all updates through Itch, for anyone who wants to back at $1, and that's unlimited. It's intended for anyone who wants to support but doesn't have the funds to, blow their whole savings on all of the Zine Quest projects they like, and also to kind of provide anyone who might be interested with the product at an extremely low cost to them. Um, on top of that, we also have the physical tier. So to get the printed version of Castaway, that's going to be $12. And then the scenario pack with the printed zine, I think, is $16, if I'm remembering correctly. Um, and then we have retailer packs as well. So you can get 6 copies of Castaway with 6 scenario packs if you'd like for $48. And then you can get your name in the credits and physical copy of both the book and the scenario pack for $20.
Damn, that's like it's money, but it's it's nothing in the grand scheme of things, man. And I love the fact that, and I was going to touch on the $28, 28 days. I love the fact that you are providing something in return for the people who do decide to pick your game as something that they want to back
Absolutely.
for just $1. Because that gives people more of an incentive to want to help back your game because they're getting a little something out of it. And I think that's a really smart idea because it helps more people get your game. It helps your name get out there. I personally plan on doing $28, 28 days, and I know that there's a list around. I think when I saw it yesterday, there were 68 names of games that were on there. I personally plan on putting at least $1 towards every game that's on there, even
Agreed.
the ones that I'm not backing. Because I kind of saved up money for this, because there are so many cool things coming out. I plan on backing your game. Basically, everybody that I've interviewed, I plan on backing their game. And it would have been a game that I would have backed anyway if I wasn't interviewing them. You know what I mean? Because
I really appreciate that.
No problem, man. And this is the time right here where, basically it's like a Black Friday for zines. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
You can get it all in one place. So yeah, I plan on doing that, and I think it's a really great incentive. It helps, again, like I said, this is like a form of art to me, and it helps you get backers. You get pushed up the line of Kickstarter things that they might showcase. You get an extra $1 towards your goal. You get an extra email that people might want to say, okay, I got a little extra money. Let's change our backer price, and we'll do the physical copy or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely, yeah. They might, read the PDF and think that I would love to have this printed, and that would be very nice. But yeah, you touched on it necessarily being, a wider audience. My goal with releasing it as $1 is just to let everybody play, and whether or not they can back at a physical tier, they can back at just $1. I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to at least see what we did, and if they don't like it, that's fine. If they do, that's fine. But you gotta read it to know,
Yeah.
And I don't want to lock anybody out of that.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I think that your game, for in a PDF form for $1 is a steal. I will say that.
Well, thanks.
I think it's a really, really cool concept. And again, it's one of those things that even if I wasn't interviewing you, I would have taken notice to and backed it anyway. I'm a physical copy guy anyway, so I'm at least, if I'm going to back it, I'm at least going to physical tier. And that's how Kickstarter has gotten a lot of my money.
Definitely,
because I am a physical copy guy.
I have a bunch of books back here in display cases from backing Kickstarters.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So, you talked about doing this with a partner. What about the artwork that's in it? Is that something that is like free domain that you found, or did you hire artists?
I would love to hire artists. We're on Kickstarter because we don't really have a budget. We've been doing this all for free in our spare time in between working. But yeah, I found all of the art through public domain sources, and there are Discords for Troika and Morkborg that I'm pretty active in, where everyone has shared tons of resources that are in the public domain. And I found this old, Boy Scout manual from 1920s, and all of the artwork in there just screamed like a survival guide. There were how to make fires and how to make tents and how to protect yourself from insects and all these different things. And I thought this would be perfect for the book, so I took all of that public domain art and put it in where I thought it would fit the best. but yeah, I mean, somewhere down the line, if we could do commissions, if there was enough interest in something like this to commission an artist to make, something specifically for the game, I would love that.
Hey,
It'd be really cool.
Uh, yeah, I'm a big fan of art, and I love how grungy it can be, and I love how fine tuned and just like museum quality it can be.
Hmm.
That's always a question that I ask everyone is, well, what's the art like?
Right.
Because if you give me a book that has no pictures in it, I am going to read it. But I'm a comic book fan too. So if you just even put
Right.
one little thing on there, I'm going to examine it. I'm going to look at it, and I can go, oh, that's the page with the bear on it. Let's go to that. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
um, what date do you launch?
So we are launching on Friday, the 5th, February 5th.
Cool,
Hmm.
cool. Friday the 5th, and then 2 weeks as well. You'll be on there for 2
2
weeks.
weeks, 14 days. Yeah.
And what's your budget?
Our budget is $300 to print. And if we can make our $300 goal, then everyone who backs will get exactly what they need. We wanted to keep it as low as we could. We've already had some investment through Itch, selling our PDF. So that's why we're able to keep our goal so low. And then if we do reach a stretch goal of 400, we're going to be printing with the color backing. And then if we reach 700, that's going to unlock the free PDFs of the scenario pack for everybody.
Sweet, man. I hope that there are people out there that are thinking the same thing if they're watching this or listening to this, saying that, you wouldn't, with a game like this, you shouldn't have any issue reaching that goal, even that $700 goal. I would hope. I mean,
Well, I
I'm
hope
I'm
so.
already backing it,
We'll
so I'm
see.
kind of biased. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if every backer wants whatever they back to succeed. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I personally just think the game's going to be a lot of fun. I've already talked to some people on the Discord server that I host about the game, and asking them, when the time comes, would they like to play it? And every one of them said, "Hell yeah!"
Oh, that's awesome. I would love to hear a play report about that.
Well, we'd love for you to come and be a GM or even be a player if you'd like.
Oh,
So
absolutely. That'd be
I can
great.
send you the details for all that for the Discord server invite.
Right on.
But before I kind of let you go, is there anything else that you would like to promote? Any games? Any like a Twitter or Instagram? Anything at all? It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
game related.
Well, so a couple of things we already touched on it. The $28, 28 days challenge from Tony Vicinda. That's really important to me. I think the most important thing to me about this whole Zine Quest thing is people supporting each other in the community, and kind of lifting each other up. And so I'm pledging everyone who joins that list. There's a list going around on Facebook for RPG zines. I'm going to be donating minimum $1 to every campaign there. So that's something that I think can really help everyone's projects, and the more people know about it, the better. If you'd like to know more about me, I am on Twitter as King Qyote, KingQuyote, and you can find our projects on Itch under the name Afterthought Committee.
Cool, and I couldn't agree with you more about $28, 28 days. I think that is a really, really cool initiative, and it's probably something that I would
Definitely.
have done anyway if it wasn't said. But I've been harping on it a lot, and
Yeah.
much like you, I plan on donating it there or backing at least a minimum of $1 to each one of
Hmm.
those that are already on the list. Like I said, I think I saw it yesterday, and I think there were 68 games, but
Something like that. Yeah.
I know there's probably 3 or 4 times that are actually
Hmm.
participating in Zine Quest 3.
Right.
So for me, one little plug for me is if anyone would like to learn about Rollers of Relay, join our Discord. Find links to our social medias, anything like that. You can visit our link tree at linktr.ee/Rollers of Relay. We'd love to see you on the Discord. Come play games with us. Bring your friends. You can
Absolutely.
play your own games, anything like that. Yeah, man. Reilly, I really look forward to Castaway. I'm definitely going to be a backer. And I look forward to talking to you about the different games that we have, man.
Man, thank you so much. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate this interview, and I hope we see tons and tons of cool games releasing for Zine Quest, and I hope I can back as many of them as there are.
Yeah, I agree too, and I think there are going to be some really cool games, man. And I would love to
Definitely.
talk to you after everything's printed, sent off. The the anxiety is down from the Kickstarter and all that. I'd love to talk to you and your partner that helped you write this as well. If you ever want to do
Absolutely.
another interview.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch. And like I said, drop me that Discord link. I'll jump in there, and anyone who's watching, you can come say hi. I'm sure it's a wonderful community of people, and love to chat more sometime in the
Cool,
future.
cool, Riley. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it, and
Thank you very
I
much.
will definitely be talking to you later.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.